I own my own studio, teaching voice and piano and clarinet lessons, actually, um, as well as working for Talent Nook. Um, and so the reason why we are going with Broadway musicals as a camp theme is because um, I have loads of experience and a giant love for Broadway musicals. Um, when I was a little kid, I loved rock and roll, but then when I turned 9, it was that magical moment. My mom took me and a family friend to see Grease in the movie theaters, and I have not forgotten it. From that day forward, I made a goal to star in a musical, and when I was a sophomore in high school, which was, the youngest that somebody had ever been in my school's history, I landed the lead role in our school's production of Once Upon a Mattress. And it was absolutely fantastic. It was the greatest experience of my entire life. I grew up a lot, during that time, and this is something that I like to pass on to my students, because Broadway is not just like, it looks really easy, right? But it takes so much work. It takes a lot of emotionally getting out of your own way. So you could open yourself up to acting the characters that you need to act, and really putting across the performance and making it memorable. If you think about Broadway performance, um, like we think of people like Elphaba, right? Like characters like Elphaba, and who plays Elphaba? Idina Menzel, right? And why do we love Idina Menzel? Because she puts her characters across. Not only does she have a powerhouse of a voice, but she's able to mix her vocal talent with her acting chops and create one heck of an experience for everybody. So that is a little bit about me. And two, I'm classically trained as a vocalist. I started that when I was first entering college, because I felt that classical training was going to get my technique off the ground. And it did. It really did. I had one of the best teachers you could ever ask for. And she guided me through so many pitfalls in vocal training. And she basically taught me everything I know. Um, and when my road had come to an end with that teacher, upon finding a new one, I had learned so much and was inspired so much to teach by my former teacher, that when I was finding another teacher to help me with the next steps in my vocal career, I wanted to find somebody who was basically me. Because of everything I had learned from my former teacher, I wanted to work with somebody who is going to teach me the way that I teach my students. But obviously, with a little bit more experience in the Broadway arena. And it turns out I found myself a Broadway star. She's actually on Broadway. Her name is Rachel Gold, and she and I have been working together for the last 4 years. So I have firsthand experience through that teacher with teaching Broadway styles of singing. Um, anyway, so, to get things off to a start, I'm going to demo a little something that I have been working on. And this is a little bit of an example of, what students are going to be learning, because I think a lot of the draw for students when they say that they are interested in Broadway styles is they want to be like Idina Menzel, Kristen Chenoweth, where they hit those giant belty notes and they're lifted up off of the stage, singing that last and Lord knows that's my dream. If I could be on Broadway right now, that would be my dream role. But so this song that I'm going to demo is called Maybe This Time. It is from the musical Cabaret. I would not recommend having a student of the age groups that we are looking to attract here learn this piece or anything from Cabaret, mostly because it's highly inappropriate. But this song, I chose it because it infuses the acting with the big belty parts, and it's sort of while the material is not necessarily kid friendly, it's the concepts I'm going to be covering in this camp. So if you give me a second here, I'm just going to stand up. Hopefully you can see me when I do so, and I will start the music. Everybody loves a winner, so nobody loved me. Lady peaceful, lady happy, that's what I long to be. All the odds are there in my favor. Something's bound to begin. It's gonna happen sometime. Maybe this time I'll win. 'Cause everybody, they love a winner, so nobody loved me. Lady peaceful, lady happy, that's what I long to be. All the odds are there in my favor. Something's bound to give in. It's gonna happen sometime. Maybe this time. Maybe this time I'll win. There we go. All right. So now that we have a bit of an example of what I will be teaching your students, not necessarily on that level, obviously on levels that they are able to operate on. But those will be the goals. They will have by the end of the camp, they will have the foundation to figure out how to reach those higher notes and how to sustain them, and to not only do that but sing the healthy way. And that is my major intention. So let's get started in our presentation. So week one, what I'm going to focus on is overall giving introduction to, Broadway, and, sort of like, do a get to know you type situation where, we talk to the students, we say, hey, students, what do you feel, is attracting you to Broadway music? What do you want to learn more of? But before we get into any of that, we are going to learn proper breathing techniques, proper tone placement. I'm going to teach them warm-ups that they will use to further their skills and to improve on their pitch and just things like that. And students are going to present possible song choices on the first day of camp. So I would like them to have that decided before we ever get started. So the second they sign on for that first day of camp, is going to be the day that they come prepared with a song choice that they feel, it would be appropriate for them, things like that. However, there is going to be leeway for if the student comes with like Defying Gravity and they're 8 and they've never sung before, that's going to be a situation. So we will leave room for that possibility, but I would like the students to come prepared with, at least a couple of song choices, and then, we'll take that further. So week 2, we will continue vocal technique education. which is so important. Throughout this entire camp, we will be harping on vocal education. We'll be teaching proper breath control, how to support. What does it mean to feel the breath? What does it mean to, like, what is the difference between your head and your chest voice? How do they work together? Things like that. And then week 2, we will also talk about the Broadway history. So starting from like roughly the late 50s to current day. What is the big hit of the day? Obviously, Hamilton. What was the big deal back in the 60s? Funny Girl. So what are the differences in the styles that Barbara Streisand sang? And why are we now introducing rap into our musical theater? Does the stylistic history of Broadway, does it lend itself to that? Like, is this, sort of a new phenomenon? So all things that we're going to talk about. And we're going to apply that history to what the students' songs are from. So depending on the shows that the students want to sing from, um, we will talk about that. How do they fit into history? And then hopefully everyone will be prepared enough and will have, gotten familiar with their song choice, and we will start song run throughs on week 2. Week 3, we will obviously do warm ups. We're going to continue the effort, like I said, every week with our vocal education. But then when we get down to it, we're going to do a character breakdown that week. We're going to talk about who is our character, what is the scene, what is their motivation, what is their connection to the character, if they have any. And if they don't have any, what attracts them to that song to begin with, what attracts them to that show, what have you. And then we will discuss how to basically be Idina Menzel. How do we act the song? When we're presenting it, because we don't want to just learn a song that's Broadway and not learn the character. You know what I mean? And then we'll continue the effort with run throughs of the songs. Week 4, obviously warm ups, like I said. And then we will share with the class about our characters. So for homework on week 3, each student's homework will be to research the character. It'll be to find out as much as they can about the scene that their song comes from, and what is the character's backstory in the show. Who are they supposed to become by week 8 when they're presenting both the acting and the singing all at once in one performance. And then we're going to continue the effort with run throughs of each song. And then obviously week 5, warm ups. And then we're really going to start putting acting and singing together into one performance and really showing, what we can do with that and things like that. And we're also going to talk about our stage presence. So this all goes back to who is my character, what do they want, how are they feeling, so these are some things that we're going to ask. How would my character move their arms? This is a very important question, because you don't want to just be singing a song that's Broadway and then be yourself when the character is not that at all. They're very different from you most of the time. Another key thing is, what is my character's mood? And then another, how would my character feel most comfortable standing? This is a big thing, just everything I know about acting, the classes that I've taken, the teachers I've had, this is, it might sound like a simple thing, but this is a very key thing. How would my character stand? And how would my character stand? That informs so much more about who they are and how they move on stage. And it sort of helps you to internalize that character, and it helps you to, sort of act the character a little bit easier, instead of having to constantly think about changing into your character with every scene. If you can sort of get into their demeanor, you can almost mentally just put yourself into that character's shoes. Week 6, warm ups. Obviously, we are going to spend week 6 opening up rehearsals to student critiques. So, what I mean by this, and this is a very key component to anything in music, whether you're on Broadway or, playing in a symphony orchestra, right? Peer reviews and, other techniques and critiques and things like that. they're very important to the betterment of our skills. Um, and it's because everybody has their own perspective, and whether you can take somebody's advice or not, it's sort of like there's always an importance to hearing somebody out about your performance, because whether you think so or not, you are probably internalizing what they're saying and going to change whatever it is anyway. And then two, we're going to practice channeling our characters some more. And then I'm going to assign having each student tape their performances. And then we're going to show those tapes during week 6, or sorry, week 7. And let's get on to week 7 really quick. So week 7, we're going to finish rehearsals by reviewing any trouble spots. So, students obviously throughout this entire camp can come to me with any and all trouble spots. You can reach me outside of camp too, if you guys have any questions during the week, anything to help the students with their final recital. And so week 7 too, we'll be reviewing all taped performances, and we will give last minute critiques. And then performance day, week 8, yay. Performance day will be a recital, pretty much. That's sort of the best thing we can do if we're online. If we were in person, I would do a whole group number. There'd be dancing. But I think this too would be a great way for everybody to shine, for everybody to show the effort that they put in during the camp. So for performance day, each student will need to warm up prior to entering the call. I will not be holding a group warm up beforehand. So, they'll have to take care of that themselves. This performance will be live, not taped necessarily, unless, we'll get there though with the taping at that point. And each student will be responsible for their own performance requirements, i.e. device for karaoke. I will not screen share their karaoke, and costumes, music and all that, etc. Okay, so a couple things. So singing is hard, and it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of diligence. It takes a lot of being aware of your body. It takes a lot of wanting to try it, even though at some point you're going to fail. So, and it also takes a bit of knowledge that you're never going to be perfect at singing, and that's the beauty of singing. Same with anything in music. You will never be a perfect pianist. You will never be a perfect violinist. You just will never be perfect. And that's what makes it great, I think, because, if you had, a thing that a standard for perfection in music, wouldn't it make it boring, because everybody lends their own voice, their own, keystrokes, their own, you name it, to each piece that they play and each piece that they sing. And that makes it awesome. But so, how do we know if our child is ready for something like this? So they are able to practice on their own without encouragement from the parents, meaning that they are so excited to get going on this and to really learn this for themselves that the parents need little to no involvement in their day-to-day practicing, their day-to-day acquisition of knowledge with this, things like that. They do not exhibit behavioral problems when being instructed. Like I said, so if the student can't sit for longer than 5 minutes, doing anything, they probably, aren't ready for an hour-long class with other kids who I'm going to be addressing individually. They yearn to come to class to learn more about what they're studying. This is a key thing. If they want it, even if their skill is not necessarily, as great as it could be within that student, the mere fact that they want it so badly that they can't wait to come to class, that's where you want your kid's head to be. They're not afraid of trying on different characters and learning to act in front of other kids. So here's what I run into a lot in my own studio is I get these kids that come to me and they're absolutely terrified to do anything. So even if I critique them on just their singing, not even making them act, they will cry. And so we're working with those kids, but at the same time, this is such a limited time that I have your students during the week. And, I'm not going to be doing this class forever and ever and ever, right? So in this limited time that we have, we want to make it count. So if your student is not necessarily somebody who can take criticism, and grow from it, without sobbing, maybe this is not the class for them. So if they also need to be prompted to pay attention in class or told to stop playing on the computer while I'm instructing them, this is something that happens a lot in my personal studio. I had kids who are blatant about putting their phone in front of the screen. I'm like, you're literally on your phone right now. I'm talking. So if that's a thing that your student does, maybe a class like this is not necessarily for them. And then two, even in the age groups of like 8 to 10 or something, students can still be at a point where they need help with everything, which is fine. But if you're finding as a parent that you're more involved in this than the kid is, that's probably not a thing for you to invest in for them. They're probably just too young at that point. Um, Okay, so some ground rules for this would be students need to participate when asked. This is going to be a rapid fire situation. I have an hour every week with your students, and we got to keep it moving. And if the student is apprehensive, and that's fine, but if they're too apprehensive, then I want to make sure that everybody's getting what they want out of the class. Students need to do their assigned homework before every class. I can't wait for them to be like, oh, I forgot the homework, right? Because again, we're moving so quickly and there's so much to cover and there's so many students that need to be heard when singing, that we need to allow time for all of that. And if we have students who are behind in their homework and their preparation, that's not going to be a good thing. I will not accept students being late to our Zoom meetings, meaning I will move ahead without them. And if they miss warmups, they miss, my instruction. That's sort of a missed meeting, mostly because I'm not going to go review because the other kids were there and that kid wasn't. I will not accept students surfing the internet or turning their cameras off while we are in session. This is such an actively participatory situation that we're in, that I want kids to be wanting to be there, and surfing the internet and, turning their cameras off is not a way of being there and being, participating, right? And then, so students who do not do their homework and who do not participate will not be allowed to do any type of performance at the end of this camp. So, in a way, it will be a wasted situation for the parents, because I'm not going to allow somebody to perform who didn't earn it. Students need to have a quiet environment for this camp. That means no screaming siblings interrupting them. For example, I have a family. I teach two girls. Their youngest sister would run in and out of the room naked and screaming. And yeah, so if you can provide as quiet an area for your student to participate in this class, that would be fantastic for everyone, because otherwise it just gets, the more kids involved, the more distractions, the more they lose what I'm saying, the more time we lose as a group. So anywho, so materials needed for camp. So everybody is going to need like a secondary device. So I don't know if you guys provide laptops or desktops or something for the Zoom calls, and that's fine. But we want to have like a phone or like an iPad, something that can play a YouTube karaoke recording, for the kids to sing along with. Mostly because I would screen share, but you can't really hear anything when the student is singing with the music. And so I don't want to have that lag. I want them to be able to sing and have it be comfortable for them too, and have it be in their control. Um, they will each need a copy of the sheet music for their song. You can purchase a majority of sheet music copies via musicnotes.com. We won't know which song necessarily that each kid wants to sing until the first first day of camp. So I'm going to discuss that with all the students. They're going to tell me what they're thinking of doing, and then we can relay that back to the parents. They will always need to have a pencil to make notes to themselves on their music. So part of their education, they don't need to know how to read music before coming into this class. Um, I will teach them basics like that, throughout the course. But they will need a pencil at all times. And I will also want them to have costumes to get into character with. So, they don't have to be elaborate, like not by any stretch, but like something that you guys have around the house for them, or something that kind of looks like their character. It doesn't have to be over the top or expensive, or you don't have to spend any money on it at all, quite frankly. So whatever we can do to maybe make sort of a makeshift costume, but anything to help them get into character. And homework, this camp will have weekly homework that will entail vocal practice and character exploration, and all that implies. um, all right. Oh, and here's my contact information. um, So this is my Talent Nook profile. If it will come up, there we go. You can search me in the search bar, or you can follow my link here. Um, and I also have a website as well. Um, my mom actually works with me at my personal studio. That's my mom right there. We were actually in Berlin at the Hard Rock Cafe. Anyway, but yeah, so this is my other business as well. Um, Thank you guys for listening to me and my information. I'm going to open it up to questions. Will I be having other dates or classes during the year? Well, I do teach private lessons. So if you are looking to get your student started in private lessons, I'm more than happy to work with your student. And I think I'm going to be doing another camp like this probably the following summer, depending. We haven't necessarily firmed anything up yet, but please reach out if you liked what you heard today, and want to know more about private lessons and things like that. Thank you, Angela. Do we have any other questions? All right, if that's everything, um, I hope to hear from you all very soon. And I'm looking forward to potentially having your kids in our camp. Thank you again for attending.